You're listening to Bad Dog Agility, bringing you training tips, interviews, and news about the great sport of dog agility.
I'm Jennifer.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah, and this is episode 212.
Today's podcast is brought to you by HitItBoard.com. HitItBoard.com has the innovative training tools you need for agility. Having problems with the A-frame or dog walk? The HitItBoard can fix that. Your dog doesn't like tugging? They'll love the Tug It. Can't move your A-frame around by yourself? The Move It can. Go to hititboard.com and use discount code BDA10 to get 10% off your order. That's hititboard.com.
Today's podcast is also brought to you by Elite Science. Unlock your dog's full potential with a unique competitive edge solution, 1TDC. 1-tetradecanol complex is a patented blend of unique fatty acid oils designed to safely and effectively keep joints and muscles at their best to maximize performance and shorten recovery time. 1TDC is the next generation of fatty acids and is used by many current and past national agility champions and world team members. All of our listeners will automatically qualify for a great 1TDC special offer by purchasing online at BDA1TDC.com. That's BDA, the number 1, TDC.com.
In this podcast, we're going to ask the question, do you really need video analysis? It's kind of a hot topic. And the first thing I want to do is define video analysis and kind of distinguish it from video demonstration. So everyone uses the internet for dog agility these days. I feel like technology is a very important part of the sport. Ideas spread rapidly all around the world. And video demonstration that you're going to get from an online course, from an instructor, right? They're going to run their dogs, they're going to videotape it, they're going to put it up on a website. You're going to look at that, and then you're probably going to try and replicate that effort right in your own backyard. And so that's video demonstration. That's very different from video analysis. When I say video analysis, I'm talking about breaking down the run. Like we're going to look at the footwork of the handler, or we're going to look at the dog and say, where is this dog taking off relative to the jump? Where is the dog landing? When they are going right over the bar, is their head turned to the left or the right? And you're going to take a much closer look at the run. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there between demonstration and analysis. So let me first put the question to you, Sarah. What do you think? In today's sport, do you really need video analysis?
Absolutely. I think video analysis will teach you so much about handling, about dog training, about your dog, your footwork, your timing. And I think that people understand this in a broad sense. People will slow down videos, use slow motion so that they can see something that happens so quickly, they can slow that down. But I think you can take that to a much deeper level when you're doing true video analysis and really look frame by frame, look moment by moment, key moments at what your dog is looking at and exactly where they are on course.
And what do you think, Jennifer?
Video analysis, I think, started with just the idea of I film my run and I watch my run back. You know, if it was a good one, highlight, yeah, that was a really nice teeter performance, or if it was a bad one, okay, that's where I got the off course. But I think it's really in more of the analysis where we slow things down. We zoom in. We take a look at, what lead is the dog on? Is it their front right or their front left that's hitting into that running contact? Were they, getting the right, information on approach, pausing it where they take off? So for me, it's not just about the rewatching the run. Yes, that's where it started and that can be helpful. But the analysis, that's really where we take it to a whole nother level. We can learn so much about the good things, so much about the bad things. I think people are quick to want to review what went wrong, but it's also can be good to review what went right, to watch those good parts over and over and over and really get them in your head. I think about it as sporting events. When was the last time we've ever seen a football game or basketball game on TV that didn't use some slow-mo, that didn't go back over a play, and think how much we've learned from that and how much more enjoyment we get out of watching it that way. So, such and such a powerful tool.
Those are some great observations. First, you basically gave us a history of how people use video review in dog agility. And unfortunately, I think that's how a lot of people are still doing it today. Everybody knows that they should be taping their runs. So I think a lot of people do it. It's almost an obligation. Their instructor tells them to do it. Their friends are doing it. They tape their friend's run and they think, okay, well, maybe I should have someone tape my run and at least pretend to look at it. And people are going to look at it once, maybe twice, and kind of try and figure out what went wrong. But when you are reviewing a run, even though the technology I think is a little better on your phone these days, definitely in the past year or two, kind of once you viewed it, like you watched it again, there really wasn't much, I guess, incentive to keep looking at it. You know what I mean? And so that's definitely how people are looking at it today. And I think that's helpful. It can be helpful, but I think just like Jennifer pointed out, you can definitely do so much more. And second, okay, I think I forgot the second point that I wanted to make, but I did want to ask Jen to tell us a little bit more about focusing on the good parts of a run, because I know a lot of people are just looking for the mistakes. What went wrong? What happened when that bar came down? What happened when the dog went off course here?
Well, I think for, looking at visualization, we've talked about this in the past. We've had some podcasts. And I've mentioned that for me, when I visualize my run with my dog, I always look down on it kind of as an aerial view. So the way that I do my visualization of a course map is very much kind of like I'm filming it. It's like that camera view. So it's looking out onto the course, looking out on the run, as, kind of a third person watching the dog and handler. So I think there can be a tremendous benefit to watching back your good runs, watching back the good stuff and using that as a visualization skill. It's very common for people to submit runs with errors or why did this go wrong or what went wrong here, when I think there can be just as much value in rewatching and, if I use the word obsessing, because that's sometimes what people do with those bad runs, but really focusing on the good ones. Maybe you've been struggling with the timing of a front cross and you had a perfect front cross, you rotated into it, accelerated out of it. Watch that back, watch the footwork. What was your feet doing at the point the dog was approaching? How quickly were you able to rotate? What was your upper body doing? And so I feel like a lot of the video analysis can be helpful for the visualization skills, being able to slow it down, being able to zoom in and really pinpoint exactly what's happening. So when you have that skill on a course down the road, you've already watched it 100 times. So you have the confidence going in there that, yes, I can do this. Yes, I know how to do this.
I really like it. It's such a great point. And I have an example. So this last Saturday, we were a little bit late to the trial. So I walk into the building. There's 33 seconds left in the walkthrough. I literally walked the course one time, right? And oh, by the way, we're starting with the 24-inch dogs. There's only 2 of those. And I'm the second 20-inch dog, right? So I get to watch 3 dogs in front of me. So for the 5 minutes that it takes the first person, they clear the course and the first person comes to the line. What I did was I just stood there outside of the ring. And then I imagined myself running the course. And the thing that made it easier is exactly what Jennifer's talking about. Being able to imagine yourself on the course. It was like I was watching me and Gitchy on the course. And because I have seen literally hundreds of videos from trials and practices of me and Gitchy, it was easy to imagine, right? It was no problem at all. She ended up taking a bar, but she ran clean, right? So it was fine. So even though I only walked the course one time, and we were running right at the beginning of the order, it was no big deal, and it wasn't something that caused me a lot of stress. Yes, the very good visualization work, Jennifer alluded to that, is helpful, but that's the point, right? It integrates so nicely with having all of this video review of you and your dog. You really get a strong sense for where you're going to be. So now you go to a competition like nationals, or we're all going to Westminster this weekend. And you can imagine where you're going to be on the course. So hey, this front cross, it's not going to happen. I need to do something else here, right? Or this is where I want to do this blind cross, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a very, very powerful thing.
And I think that there's we've talked about 2 categories of things that you might look at, things that you did really well and mistakes that you made. But I think that video review actually uncovers a third category of things, and that is the subtle things, the things that you wouldn't notice in real time. And it may be something like a head check that your dog gave you on a blind cross, letting you know that they weren't exactly sure which side of your body that they should be on, or a head check on a rear cross, letting you know that when they took off for the jump, they were planning on turning one way and recovered in midair, or a place where you're sending your dog to the backside, and when you look at it, no mistake was made, but you realize I was sitting there waiting and watching my dog, and I could have left quite a bit earlier than I did. And so when you really take a look at the video, and if you're looking at it from the point of view of, what have I left on this run? Where could I have gotten a tighter turn or a better line or a faster time, and not just mistake or not mistake, not just that mentality of, cue or not cue, but I'm trying to get the best run I could possibly get, then you see so much more.
I think one of the first videos that we publicly did, like an analysis of someone's run, was Lisa Frick, who was the world champion at the time. And I took that run from the Agility World Championship. I looked back on YouTube today. That run was from 2012. That's almost 7 years ago. 7 years ago, when we were using that Coach's Eye app, which we still use today, I don't think they even had a timer at that time.
I don't think
that you could use. Yeah. And so I was looking at that and I was like, oh, I could definitely analyze this better today, right? And so what that means is that the Coach's Eye, which is an app we use, and there's several different programs that you can use to analyze video, is just a tool, right? And so if you're going to use analysis for yourself, or if you're an instructor, you want to use it for yourself or your students, you also have to pair that with the knowledge, the skill, to that understanding of agility and handling and theory and all that kind of stuff. And it's very, very important, because I think all of the reasons that we're talking about, right? It's so helpful, and it's going to really advance your improvement super rapidly, right? So we're looking at up and coming handlers. We had Max from Germany on, right? They won the European Open. Max and Bax, Border Collie. And he's only, was he 18? He's 18, right? He's not 21. It was 18. Yep. Okay. Jennifer is shaking her head. Yes, that means I'm right. And so you're looking at an 18-year-old. 18, that's like when I started agility. I've been doing agility for 18 years. And so basically these new handlers are coming in and just and one of the things he is doing is video review, because we asked him about it. We're like, well, what do you do? He's like, I do a lot of video review. I try to tape all of my practices, right, and review those runs. And he said that one of the very first videos that he saw when he first started in agility was that analysis we did of Lisa Frick, right? It put him on that path, and people can see and benefit from the power of that. So there's a lot of you out there, you've heard of video analysis, you've tried to do a little bit of video analysis, but you've run into some problems. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that. So what are some barriers to using video analysis? Sarah, I want you to talk about this one. I think a very big one, especially here in the United States, is a fear of technology.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people aren't sure how to do it. They don't realize how easy it really is. And
it takes a little practice.
It does take practice. That's the thing. It's a learned skill. But I don't know. I guess I'll out myself as a big iPhone, iPad, Apple fan. But like most things, most apps, it's very, very straightforward and easy to use. And the Coach's Eye is the one we always talk about because it is $5 and it's just so easy. And we found it 7 years ago and we've been using it ever since. But it just takes a little bit of playing around with it and giving yourself a little bit of time to really see that benefit and see that value. And if you use it and your first instinct is, oh, well, it kind of took a little while to get my video in and to look at it, and I'm not sure that it was worthwhile, give it some time, because that entire process gets faster and faster as you get better at it.
Yeah, I'll definitely jump in and add that the fear of technology and the idea of, not really being sure how well things were going to go with Coach's Eye is what kept me from using it for so long. I mean, I've only gotten Coach's Eye onto my iPad about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And why is that, Jennifer?
And that is because I was starting to work with a bad dog and doing some more analysis and watching people's runs and submitting some videos. And Sarah and Esteban said, okay, you got to do it. You got to do it. It's real easy. And I was like, I don't know. It is. It definitely is one of those things that the more you use it, the easier it will get. But to me now, I do question how I did it before that. I mean, I taught online classes. I would do student reviews prior to using Coach's Eye. And now I look back and I think, how was I doing that? I would watch a video and I would pause it and then I'd take a screenshot and send it back and say, okay, do you see it this moment? And that was a lengthy process compared to the Coach's Eye now, being able to use the scroll back and forth, being able to use the zoom, being able to, put things on the screen. And I think, one of my favorite features is actually the side by side, where you can upload two videos and put them on a side by side to kind of compare handling, but also to compare time. A lot of times we will run a sequence or run a section and go, well, which one was faster? Was it faster to slice or was it faster to curl? Well, if you're out running and you're out training on the field, you may not have electronic timers. You may not even have a friend who can stand there with a stopwatch. But what you can do is you can set up your camera and you can run it twice and have it filmed and then come inside, get out of the rain, get out of the heat later on in the evening when it gets dark and sit back and upload those. Use the timer, use the side-by-side and really take a look at which one was fastest. So you don't have to waste the time or have another person to do it right there on the field. So the side-by-side and the two timers are two of my favorite tools for the video analysis.
Yeah, those are my favorite as well. I think the ability to scroll back and forth is really overlooked. It's highly underrated because on YouTube now they have all these new features of YouTube. So if you didn't know, in your phone or on your phone or on your iPad, you can double tap the screen and go forward and backwards just a few seconds at a time, instead of trying to pause and use the slider to go backwards. So if you're doing that, stop doing that. Just double tap on the screen. And even though YouTube has made those changes, you can't easily scroll back and forth. So I can take a little 2-second segment or 1-second segment in a lot of these spots in agility. It's usually in the middle of a front cross or something, and wiggle the handler, move them back and forth and say, okay, this is what the dog was seeing at this particular moment, some critical time. So the ability to scroll, I think, is really huge. The Coach's Eye gets you a lot of flexibility there. So we've talked a lot about the Coach's Eye and video analysis in general, but the reason I wanted to have this podcast is because I really believe that it has made me a better handler than I would probably be. I don't know, maybe I would be how I am now without it, but I think it made me a better handler, and it made me a better handler more quickly. I remember, I think maybe it was the first tryout that I took Gitchy to, and so this is going to be 5 years ago. And there was a spot on course where you had to do a full wrap and go to a teeter. And I compared Gitchy's run, which was very good. I think it was a clean run, and compared it to the winning dog. I want to say
Strafe.
That year was Strafe, right?
I know exactly the story you're talking about.
Yeah. So I did a side by side, and I'm like, okay, we're about the same here. We're about the same here. We're about the same here. And then we got to this one part, and Strafe just killed us. By the end of the teeter, they were ahead by more than a second. I said, okay, what happened here? Does Gitchy just not know how to turn? And so what Roseanne had done was basically shape the line, right? So she did a maneuver where she handled close to the wing and basically altered the dog's path over the jump. And so I did not do that for Gitchy. In fact, at that time in handling for wraps, the way I approached it was I want to give the dog a nice clean look at the jump and let the dog figure out the best way to wrap, right? Physically for the dog. I'm not going to get in and interfere with my dog's line and force them around my body. I was like, that's ridiculous. You want the dog to get to the jump as fast as possible, and whatever happens, happens. And when I saw that, I thought, okay, well, now I need to go home and figure this out. So I went home basically and ran it the way she had run it. And then I ran it the way that I ran it, and I did a bunch of side by sides, and suddenly I was saving almost a second. Right? That does not happen without video review, because when you look at Gitchy's run in isolation, you say, oh, look, hey, Gitchy had a great clean run at tryouts. You got to be happy. It's pretty fast. It's a top whatever
she's just
finish.
Slower.
Maybe she's a little slower in that spot, right? She's like, oh, you're 1 second behind the border collies. Of course, you're not a border collie. But when you look at the video and you look at it side by side, what you can do is figure out where you're a little bit weak. But if you were looking at it in isolation, you would never have known that you were weak there, right? This happens to people all the time. How many people out there are doing really, really well at local trials? You win, you're in the ribbons, you're getting first, second, third. Then you go to nationals and you're like 22nd and you feel this tough disappointment. I don't know if other people have had that experience. I've had that experience, right? You're doing really well at local trials and then nationally you're just not quite as competitive. And it's because you don't have that comparison to let you know that this is kind of the standard. This is what the top level of performance looks like for this given sequence or type of course or whatever it is that you're looking at. That just doesn't happen without video review. So that's my honest feeling about video review. No, you don't have to do it. You don't have to analyze your own runs, but if you do, it's going to make you better. And we have people who are total beginners and now they're doing really amazing things and they're handling like people who have been in the sport for years. So Jennifer, I want to ask you, you've been in the sport like 20 years plus, longer than we have, right? And you've had tremendous success and well before iPhones and iPads and all this stuff. And Coach's Eye, you were out there, world championships and all these national finals and things. What kind of impact do you think that it's had on your handling? Not just, how you would demonstrate or give feedback to students, but for you yourself personally?
I definitely think that it has helped with my handling, particularly I think we all can be guilty of thinking we did something and realizing that maybe we didn't do that. You come off the course. I know I know I was early enough with that outside arm. I know I said my here command and he still went to the wrong end of the tunnel. And, you kind of want to do that whole, my dog wasn't listening or I don't have that skill as strong as I thought. And then you watch it back and you go, oh, I really wasn't on time. I wasn't early as I thought. But I also don't think it should be overlooked where I've seen so much benefit for myself is improving on just the dog training skills. Going back to Max, we talked about how he films a lot of his training. And I think one of the huge holes that I see so many people have is, like you said, there's that obligation to film at a trial. Oh, I'm at a trial. I better get my runs filmed. But how many people are filming your training? I mean, I don't know that I have many live students that are filming their training. They're filming at trials, but they're not filming their training. And I think so much can be overlooked there. And that's where I've seen it. When I started taking online classes, I'm in a puppy class right now with my young Border Collie High Five. So I turn on the camera and I walk out there to get myself into position and I do my little training session and I might have to switch from food to toys. And when I go back and watch those videos, you're not just watching the actual behavior or the skill that needs to be submitted, but you're picking up on other little things, little displacement behavior. She's wandering off sniffing, or, she's licking her lips or scratching, and doing a little bit of stress things there. Those aren't particular examples with my dog, but I think those are things that people can pick up on and start paying attention to and changing not just their agility handling, but their dog training as well. They put their dog on a stay on the start line, they turn their back and walk away. Well, what is the dog doing? Is the dog keeping their eyes on them? Is their dog looking away? Is the dog sniffing the ground? And so for me, I've seen such a huge benefit in my dog training and my ability to observe my dog. When is my dog getting frustrated? Am I doing a good job of keeping my dog engaged between exercises? Because I'm just doing so much more videoing of my training sessions as well.
I can't tell you how many times we have, gone, put record on the camera, done a training session, came back to hit stop and went, oh man, that was 10 minutes straight. Even just recognizing like how long you asked your dog to pay attention in a session is valuable.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because I feel like I should have mentioned it. How many times have we been reviewing videos for VIP members and asked them to include the 30 seconds before the start of a run and maybe the 30 seconds after the run? I want to see your pre-run routine. I want to see what happens immediately following the run because we're trying to troubleshoot things, like slow performance in the ring or stress behaviors and things like that. And then I say, let me see what you're doing in practice, right? This A-frame problem that you're having, I want you to do 5 A-frames in your backyard and let me see them. Show me how you practice them. What's going on? How are you rewarding them? How are you reinforcing them? And oftentimes you can uncover the problem there. You can't just look at what's going on in the agility ring. That's just one small part of all the work that you're putting in there. So Jennifer's got a really great point there.
All right. So the title of the podcast was, Do You Really Need Video Analysis? And we're saying 3 for 3, yes. right?
Yes.
Everybody says yes here. So yes, you need it. It will make you better. It will make you better faster. And the reason that we have video analysis on the brain is because we have the Westminster before and after that is open for registration. And this is a course where Esteban and Jennifer are going to be doing video analysis of their own runs at Westminster. So if you're interested in that, you can get all the details at baddogagility.com/Westminster. And there will also be a link on the show notes page. We'd like to thank our sponsors for this podcast, hititboard.com, Elite Science, and also NTI Global. New year, new gear. Visit shop.ntiglobal.com for the widest selection of dog agility tunnels for both competition and backyard training. Tunnels are made from durable vinyl and black ring color. Known for free shipping, more options, high-quality products, and low prices, NTI Global has got you covered. They also offer tamer and anchor weight bags along with a full line of accessories and agility storage solutions. Need your agility gear in a hurry? Don't forget to check the in-stock selection. Visit shop.ntiglobal.com and use promo code BADDOG2019 for 5% savings off today. Promo code good through February 28th, 2019. Happy training!
Why did the teddy bear say no to dessert? Because she was stuffed.